From the City of Angels near the Pacific Ocean, good morning, good evening, wherever you may be across the nation, around the world. Timothy Alberino back with us as a researcher, explorer, filmmaker, travels the world in search of evidence relating to the true narrative of forbidden history. Works with our dear friend Steve Quayle and is the director of the Gen 6 Productions. He's got his DVDs out with Steve called True Legends. Tim, welcome back. It's been, not quite a year, but getting close.
Yeah, George, good evening. Thank you for having me on again.
So what is the greatest cover-up in human history, my friend?
The greatest cover-up of history is the cover-up of history. That's what Steve and I have been working on for a long time, is uncovering the forbidden history, the knowledge, the secret knowledge that is purposely excised from our history books.
Why do they do this to us?
Well, there's a very complicated answer to that, but as you know, knowledge is power. Wealth is one thing, but knowledge trumps wealth. And so knowledge is the most coveted commodity on the face of the earth. And those who have it and those who traffic in secret knowledge are not going to share that commodity with the plebeian masses, such as us.
Tim, you've talked a lot about transhumanism, but for a lot of us, give us a definition. What is transhumanism?
Well, the official definition of transhumanism is that transhumanism is an international intellectual movement that aims to transform the human condition by developing and distributing sophisticated technologies. And the goal of the transhumanist is to enhance the human condition, the human intellect, human physiology. But in truth, what transhumanism is the transition between the human condition, between being human to a post-human condition, to being something other than human. So that's why you have the word transhuman. This is a process of transition. And what transhumanists are really advocating for is a post-human condition, a conscious evolution of the human species.
Can we get to a point where, as we were talking about the forbidden knowledge and forbidden history, can we really get the answers? I mean, I know you, Steve Quayle, people like Michael Cremo, L.A. Marzulli, doing the best you can to get the knowledge out to us, but it just seems like mainstream holds back. They don't cover these. Are we going to be able to get these answers out?
Well, I think we are to a limited extent. I think that, we have very powerful adversaries when we talk about scientific knowledge, when we talk about historical knowledge. The intellectual elite around the earth are very, very heavily invested in the Darwinian paradigm, and so they defend it, aggressively defend it. And any kind of artifacts or information that transgresses that paradigm is secreted away or is covered up or is destroyed. And that goes for all kinds of different themes, whether you're talking about giants, whether you're talking about ancient civilizations, whether you're talking about dinosaurs. In almost every field, you'll find this cover-up pervasive, because there is a concerted effort to propagate the Darwinian paradigm and to destroy any other paradigm that might challenge that.
Have you found that this effort to try to restore knowledge to people is going to be easy for you or difficult?
It's difficult. It's an uphill battle, because we're always sort of on the heels of some kind of important find. We always find ourselves to be one step behind these institutions that are covering things up. So the best we can do is bring to light the information that we've uncovered in the historical documents, do do the kind of work you mentioned, L.A. Marzulli, that L.A. Marzulli is doing. I was at the symposium the other day with him at the Elongated Skull Symposium.
And you've got a great one coming up in Branson, but we'll talk about that later on tonight.
Yes, we do. So, I mean, the best we can do is try and produce scientific information and be honest with what we're finding and just collect a body of work that is irrefutable, and that's what we're working to do.
How did you get involved with Steve, Tim? How did you both jump into this topic?
I actually lived in the Amazon for about 10 years of my life.
Really?
I'm based in Peru. Yep. And so I was somewhat of a amateur explorer, adventurer, and I lived down there for a while. And then I ended up coming across some very interesting things while I lived in Peru, and became interested in giants and ancient forbidden knowledge and this sort of thing, megaliths and so forth. And when I moved back to the United States, I had encountered Steve Quayle's work concerning giants, his very famous, well-known work concerning giants. And so I ended up getting in contact with Steve and ultimately moving out to Bozeman, Montana, where I currently live and work with Steve Quayle in Gen 6 Productions. So, and Steve and I are doing all kinds of things together. As you mentioned, we did the True Legends films. We have 3 episodes out right now, and we have all kinds of very interesting things in the works right now.
There is a technology called GRIN, G-R-I-N. What does that stand for?
The GRIN technologies stand for, it's an acronym that stands for Genetics, Robotics, Artificial Intelligence, and Nanotechnology.
Aha.
And the GRIN technologies they're the primary technologies when you talk about the emergent technologies that are going to transform the human race. Though that is the collection of technologies that is at the forefront: genetics, robotics, artificial intelligence, and nanotechnology. And though the convergence, and these technologies are converging right now, they're coming together, and their convergence will absolutely and irreversibly redefine what it means to be a human being.
Is it good or bad to have these kinds of technologies?
Well, it all depends on how these technologies are used. I mean, we all applaud when technology is used to better the lives of human beings all over the earth. When our vets can get state-of-the-art prosthetics and when we can cure different kinds of cancers, that's all laudable. And again, we all applaud those kinds of advancements in technology, and we're absolutely for those kinds of advancements. But the problem is that there's an agenda, and we talked about transhumanism. There's a transhumanist agenda to consciously evolve the human race into a post-human condition. I believe that this agenda is being motivated, is being perpetrated at the highest levels by the technocratic elite. I would call them the Luciferian technocratic elite. And their design, their ultimate goal is to fundamentally transform the human race into something other than human.
And they want to do it sooner than later, don't they?
Yes, and they're actively working towards this, and it's already happening. I mean, the development of the GRIN technologies, as you know, George, these technologies are progressing at such a rapid pace.
So fast.
It's almost impossible to keep up with what's going on in even just one of these fields. But the GRIN technologies are just a collection of emergent technologies. There's all kinds of other technologies that are emerging, such as information technology, that are accelerating right now, that are going to fundamentally transform human society.
And I want to read you a definition, then we're going to have Tim react to it. It's called biohacking, the activity of exploiting genetic material experimentally without regard, this is key here, to accepted ethical standards or for criminal purposes. Tim, what the heck is that all about?
Well, many people are not aware of the fact that there is a growing movement happening internationally all over the earth. It is a biohacking revolution. And what biohacking is, biohacking is a community of people who are using the most advanced and powerful gene editing technologies to make modifications to the genomes of biological creatures, including themselves.
Oh, geez.
In the basements, living rooms, kitchens of their own homes. That's what biohacking is.
What are they trying to do? Make, stronger people, or what? Frankensteins? What do they want to do?
Well, yes. The biohackers there's different motivations among the biohackers. A lot of these guys are motivated by what's called personalized medicine, and biohackers are already coming up with new kinds of personalized medicine that targets specific problems in an individual's genome. So, in other words, if you have a specific genetic mutation, a biohacker can create a medicine that targets your specific problem, as opposed to taking the general medicine that is created to work for the masses of the populace. So targeted medicine is a big deal among biohackers. And by the way, a lot of these guys are already curing themselves and their friends and their clients by making modifications to the human genome.
It seems, though, that it's illegal according to that definition, is it?
Well, it's not illegal yet. Right now, I don't think that the technology has outpaced the policy. So what's happening right now is these guys are using a technology called CRISPR-Cas9, which is a very powerful tool for gene editing.
Gene editing technology, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. And so they can go in and make specific targeted modifications to the human genome. Now, this is the kind of technology that DARPA is using. This is the kind of technology that's being used in government and corporate labs all over the earth. And so what's happening is the biohacking revolution is taking the power of CRISPR-Cas9 gene editing technology out of the corporate labs, out of the military labs, and into the homes of otherwise average citizens. And these guys, a lot of these guys are not men of letters. These are men who are, in many cases, some of them never went to college, don't have a degree in biotechnology. They're learning how to do it online, and they're uploading their results for the greater good of the community, the biohacking community. And so, basically, this is a form of it's almost like they're using the cloud, the internet cloud, to engineer the human genome.
Timothy, we had a bizarre story last week on the coasttocoastam.com website about a story from Florida. It was 100 years old story that 100 years ago, a scientist genetically bred, basically, a chimpanzee and a human, and came up with this anomaly that scared the living daylights out of him, and he killed it because he was just petrified of what he made. Is that real?
Well, I think it is real. We see that the Chinese just cloned a monkey, and that was in the open. So whatever we see these scientists doing in the open, I think we can just assume. I think we can infer that they're light years ahead in the corporate labs, and especially in the military labs, especially in the deep underground military labs. These guys, I think that we are very far advanced in cloning and genetic engineering, and I think we are doing all kinds of gross experimentation, especially when you talk about the Chinese and the Russians, and where the regulation is much less strident than in the United States. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if the Chinese have half chimpanzee, half human beings, concoctions somewhere in their labs and in the dark recesses of their military projects and so forth. So yes, I do think that's happening.
We could have islands like Dr. Moreau, where all kinds of bizarre creatures are being made out there, right?
Yes, And I think we do. And I think instead of islands, I think these things are under the ground. I think they're happening in the underground basis. That's why the corporate labs, many of these corporate labs are going underground, and that's why there are so many military installations under the ground where a lot of this kind of work is happening. And I mean, you're out of sight, out of mind, and therefore out of the purview and the jurisdiction in some cases of whatever government you happen to be working.
Would these be black ops programs, or could some governments be secretly funding these things?
I think it's both. We had last year, Vladimir Putin last year, in October of last year, was addressing a gathering of university students, and he forewarned that genetic engineering will soon lead to the creation of super soldiers, and he said, who will, quote, fight without fear, compassion, regret, or pain. And then he further suggested that this dangerous scenario might be worse than a nuclear bomb.
Jeez. I did get an email from some guy a couple months ago that said that Putin was a cross between an ostrich and a human.
Well, I can't confirm if he's a cross between an ostrich
or deny.
But I can say that I believe that Putin knows full well that the super soldier arms race is already well underway and has been for decades. It's a fact of life. I mean, if Russia's going to field super soldiers and China's going to field super soldiers, then you can
bet your bottom dollar
that the United States is going to field super soldiers.
Tell me about the DVD True Legends and the event you're hosting in Branson in September.
Well, the True Legends conference is a continuation of our True Legends documentary film series, but kind of in conference form. This is going to be our second True Legends conference that's taking place this year in September from the 14th through the 16th. We had it was a phenomenal conference last year. And this year we think it's going to be even better. We're even more excited for it because this year we're talking about transhumanism and the hybrid age. And what we're really excited about this year is that we're creating a unified front. We're coming together with Gen 6 Productions, Steve and I, with Tom Horn and his operation, Skywatch TV.
Good guy.
And with InfoWars.
Alex Jones.
We have David Knight speaking at our conference this year, and of course InfoWars has been on the forefront of fighting against the technocratic elite and transhumanism for many years. So we're very excited about this amalgamation of these three organizations, and all of us share a passion for this subject. And by the way, we're also flying in Professor Hugo de Guerres from China, who is one of the leading minds in artificial intelligence.
Wow. And he wants to come.
And he's coming.
That's good.
And he's speaking at our conference, and we've got other fantastic speakers besides. It's going to be extremely powerful.
Timothy, should people be, and you've got full information, by the way, on this on your website, don't you?
Yes, people can go to gen6.com, GENSIX.com if they're interested in the conference.
Should people be afraid of the progression of all this technology we've been talking about tonight?
Yes, if we are interested in the preservation of humanity, we should take notice. In fact, that's what Dr. Leon Kass said some years ago. He actually said, quote, "For anyone who cares about preserving our humanity, the time has come for paying attention." And he draws, I'll finish the quote, "Human nature itself lies on the operating table, ready for alteration, for eugenic and psychic enhancement, for wholesale redesign. In leading laboratories, academic and industrial new creators are confidently amassing their powers and quietly honing their skills, while on the street their evangelists are zealously prophesying a post-human future." That was penned by Dr. Leon Kass, who was the former chairman of President George W. Bush's Council on Bioethics. So, yes, people should be concerned. There's a lot of professional scientific guys out there, geneticists and so forth, that are very concerned about the wholesale redesign of the human race and what that might imply. And whether people are interested in this or not, whether they're concerned with this or not. It's happening. It's already happening. As I said before, the GRIN technologies are now converging, and the inevitable result will be the redefining of the human species, the birth of a new human species. And I mean, how are we, those of us who decide that we don't want to enhance, we don't want to change our DNA, or we don't want to take the implants that are going to make us smarter, faster, stronger, and all these different technologies, the nanotechnologies. How are plain, regular old human beings going to compete in the markets and the battlefields of the future?
They can't.
They can't. And so isn't that then going to precipitate a subclass of human beings, i.e. you and I,
us,
who aren't enhanced?
What's the downside, though, for all of this in terms of what could physically go wrong? I'm concerned that all of a sudden they create something, a creature, something just goes absolutely horribly wrong. Is that possible?
That is a big concern across the board with all of these technologies. And in fact, it's a really big concern that people have when looking at the biohacking community, because what kind of new pathogens might these guys accidentally or intentionally create that we have no medicines for? Or if you create a super soldier, if you create some kind of a hybrid, what could the ramifications be if the genes of these creatures are inheritable? And that's a very real possibility.
They could wipe out humanity eventually.
They absolutely could. Within one generation, through germline genetic engineering, we could drastically alter the genetic architecture of the human race.
It's almost like a human GMO project.
That's exactly what it is. That's precisely what's going on. We started with our food, and then we started experimenting on animals. What do you think's next? It's us.
Oh.
We're going to be on the operating table, as Dr. Leon Koss.
And the guise is going to be, Timothy, you can live longer, you'll be healthier, you'll be happier. You may live to 180, but you'll look like you're 40. That's what they're going to say to trick us. That's precisely what they're going to say. They're improving the human condition, when in reality their goal is not to improve the human condition. It is to consciously evolve the human race into a new condition, a new species, a post-human reality. And again, why this is so dangerous, this is going to create a subclass of human beings, just your good old-fashioned run-of-the-mill human beings. I don't see an upside here.
Well, frankly, I don't either. And I don't believe that humanity is wise enough to wield this technology without making a mess of it. And we know that profit drives the commercial realm, and we know that developing stronger weapons, the better weapons than your enemy, drives the military world. And so that's what's going on, and it's not going to stop. It is inevitable, the development of these technologies.
Yeah, it really is. Tim, for people who want more information on what you and Stephen Coyle are doing, can they send you emails and things like that through your website?
Yes, they can. They can get in contact with us through gen6.com. They can send us an email there and find out what we're doing and take a look at our films. And that's Steve and I have our base at gen6.com.
What is germline genetic engineering?
Germline genetic engineering is engineering of the human genome at the germline level, the embryonic level, and the consequences of germline genetic engineering are perhaps the most frightening, at least to me. And the reason why is because, as I said before, you could drastically change. You can modify the genetic architecture of the human species within one generation via germline genetic engineering. This is the kind of genetic engineering, of gene editing, that is heritable. In other words, a genetic change can be made in me. If a doctor goes or a scientist goes into my genetic code, into my genome, and they make some kind of a change, whatever it may be, whether it's the color of my eyes, whether it's getting rid of some kind of a mutation that's causing a certain kind of cancer, and they do it on the embryonic level, then that genetic change can be inheritable and will be inheritable by successive generations, by my children and their children. And that sounds great, and it can be great if you're talking about editing out mutations that lead to cancer and all kinds of other disease.
Right, but that's the trick. We're going to do all these great things for you. Meanwhile, under the table, they're doing all these horrendous things.
Exactly. Or what if a modification is made, for example, that changes something in the human brain that makes us more pliable for political reasons?
Well, you never know.